Hello, and welcome to the Ultimate Insiders. I'm Jill,
And I'm Katie.
and today we're discussing season 1, episode 9
9.
of Gossip Girl, which is
Blair Waldorf Must Pie, which is a play on the 2006 film John Tucker Must Die, which is truly classic film. Classic film. We have, who's in that movie? Ariel Kibble, Brittany Snow,
Badgley.
Jenny
Penn
Oh, that's
Badgley.
right, he is. Wait,
he's the younger brother.
the one that ends up, and she probably ends up. I've seen this. It's been so long. She ends up with
him.
With
what's her face? But yeah,
Brittany
he's
Snow,
like his younger brother. Yeah.
Oh God, who else is in the movie? One of the other people from a CW show, the one with the brown hair.
Don't ask me. I don't remember.
Sophia Bush, the one from is it Sophia Bush from One Tree Hill?
I never saw One Tree Hill.
Tucker. Oh, okay, yeah. So it was Sophia Bush and Ashanti.
Queen.
And that's where I learned that that movie is where I learned that if you take estrogen, it can like affect men because one of them stole it from their moms who was going through menopause.
Yeah.
And we're just putting it in there. Substituting that for a protein powder. Oh my God, John Tucker Must Die. Iconic.
Scenes. That's one of my favorite things. And then my favorite thing on the planet is
I'm sensitive.
That happens. Like I forgot that like whenever you do shit like that, like it affects men. And then I was watching Graceland like for the first time like years later. I mean, this was like 2014, 2015 when I first watched Graceland. And in like the second episode, they're like crushing out birth control pills and they're putting it in a guy's drink to spike it so that like he can't get hard. And I didn't know that was a thing until that episode of Graceland. And I was like, all these things that like I need to know, I'm learning from like the most random like mediums.
Oh my gosh.
But read us the synopsis for this episode, Katie.
Season 1, episode 9, Blair Waldorf Must Pie, came out November 28th, 2007. When Dan hears that Serena and her family are spending Thanksgiving alone at the palace, he naively invites them to spend the holiday with his family, creating an uncomfortable situation for Lily and Rufus, whose children are unaware of their complicated romantic history. Meanwhile, Blair's emotions spiral out of control when she learns that her father is not coming to Thanksgiving. It is hinted that Blair is bulimic. Nate spends the holiday...
It's like outrightly basically said.
Yeah. Nate spends the holiday with his mom and dad, but their awkward dinner quickly goes from bad to worse. Absent Ed Westwick as Chuck Bass.
Because he was in St. Bart's, right? Something like that.
I don't know. Did they ever say?
Usually, like, if he's missing from, like, a holiday episode, he's usually in, like, St. Bart's. Pretty sure.
That's just what they say.
Well, because I remember at Christmas he goes to St. Bart's, and I want to say, I think they said it earlier on in the episode, but I cannot remember what it was. Or I could just be making all this up. I don't know. But I know that...
I feel like you are.
But I know that in the Christmas episode, he's like, Nate, come to St. Bart's with me. I know that for a fact because...
Well, isn't that where... Yeah, because I feel like there's a picture of the two of them, like...
Yeah, on the beach.
In a very clearly... green screen background.
Photoshop green screen.
And they're wearing like t-shirts and board shorts.
They're wearing fedoras. Like it's like the worst photo of all time. But I want to frame it. Like it's a terrible photo, but at the same time I want to frame it and like hang it above my bed. Like large frame. Just hang it above my bed. Because I think it's art. I think it is like the ultimate piece of art. Okay, so
my first note is a Thanksgiving ep.
I love a Thanksgiving episode. Katie knows this. I think I've said this. My all-time favorite episode is the season 3 Thanksgiving episode because it is the most like that's the episode that I introduce people to. Like that's how I introduce Gossip Girl to people is I show them that episode. And I'm like, if you can handle this, watch the whole show because it is like the best thing on the planet. I just love that episode so much. Also, it's like the most Gossip Girl episode is season 3 like Thanksgiving.
Then they enter on like a shot of leaves falling in Central Park, and I'm just like, God, I want to be there. I miss New York so much.
I miss it. Me and Katie have talked about this earlier today. Like we miss New York so much.
Jill and I both see a life for ourselves in New York City.
In the next like year and a half.
God willing. God willing.
Like literally praying every
It like hurts to look at pictures of New York and not be there.
I like no literally like I've been like rewatching Real Housewives of New York. I'm just like crying on the inside every time I watch it. I'm just like, ugh.
Like the idea, like when everybody was celebrating in the streets on November, was it like 7th, 8th, whenever it was like official that Biden had won Pennsylvania, and people were celebrating in the streets and just like cheering on postal workers.
All my friends were like sending me videos and stuff, and
I want it so bad.
So jealous that I wasn't there. Like I was so sad.
I was scrolling through TikTok watching these videos. They were even doing it in LA, like places that I know were doing it, but LA is a little far from me. It's not like I'm gonna drive into LA just to party. Although Demi Dijuibe, I swear to God, was partying for like 6 hours at the same gas station. I love him so much.
Oh my God. Like I remember my friend was like sending me videos. She spent 20 minutes. She's like, I was only going to be outside for like 20 minutes because she was like having horrendous anxiety about like leaving her apartment. And she was like, I went outside.
No, yeah, it's the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, she's like, I went outside for 20 minutes, like double masked with like my camera. I just wanted photos. Like she's like, I just wanted photos to like commemorate this day because it was an important day in New York. And I was like, yes, absolutely. And she was like texting me and she was like, this was the best day of my entire life. Like she was like, this was the best New York day of my entire life. And I had another friend who was like sending me photos and stuff, and I was just like weeping. Like I was just crying all day.
Oh God, I want to be in New York so bad.
Same.
My next note is they kept saying Thanksgiving last year. Mm-hmm. Wasn't Serena gone for a full year? Mm-mm. When did Serena leave?
She left after the wedding.
And when did she come back? But it sounds like
when was basically all of like spring and summer. I'm pretty sure she was early that next year.
Like, because if the wedding, because what? They made it seem like Serena was gone for like a full school year.
But they never said that. Because no, I think Blair said at one point you left in the middle of the school year.
Okay.
Like I'm pretty sure she left like second semester of that year.
Okay. I don't know. Well, then that's a lot of shit.
My knowledge. I've seen this show enough times.
There's a lot. Okay. And then knowing Serena, which, by the way, I saw some TikTok that was like, people I don't think are real people.
You sent that to me.
Oh, I did?
Yes, and I was like, the way
it said Blake Lively, like, there's nothing behind those eyes.
I don't disagree with it. Like,
anyway, it was for Serena. She did a lot of shit between
she was
when she was gone.
I mean, like, she was like a mess.
Does that mean that she stayed at boarding school over summer?
Probably.
Are you allowed to do that? I had no idea about boarding school.
Well, I mean, it was in Connecticut, so it probably wouldn't have been that hard to at least like, or at least go somewhere to like live for the summer.
Die for the, how does that song go? It's like, cool for the summer. Oh. And die for each other.
Demi Lovato? Is it Demi Lovato?
Yes, it's like cool for the summer. Don't tell your mother. Die for each other.
Oh God.
But so Serena's supposed to be spending Thanksgiving at the Waldorfs. The Vanderwoodsons are supposed to be spending Thanksgiving at the Waldorfs. Serena is on the phone with Dan and is like, call me between every course. I'm sorry.
Like,
my Thanksgiving. Well, not just that. My Thanksgiving has one single course and it's load everything onto your plate for once, go sit down at the table and pretty much gorge yourself at 3 p.m.
I mean, like, we technically have like 3 courses in my house because we do like.
Oh no, you're.
What?
Oh, you had frozen and then all of a sudden it went, you're not frozen anymore.
Oh.
But it was, you had frozen and then all of a sudden it was like, Well, at my house we did little, and I was like, okay, catch up, Zoom.
My family would do like,
like okay,
3 courses because we do like appetizers throughout the morning, and I make mimosas. Like I make pictures of like my cider mimosas, which are like 4 parts champagne to like half part apple cider. And everyone loves them because they get us drunk. And then we do like late lunch, early dinner. We've started doing brunch though. So like we started just doing like a brunch thing for Thanksgiving. And then we do like dessert. So technically we have like 3 courses, but you know.
Ours is just load everything onto your plate at once and then gorge yourself, and then then you won't be hungry for like 6 hours, and then around like 9 p.m. your whole Thanksgiving screws up your eating schedule.
Oh my god, it's so bad. It's so like around like 8 or 9 I'll start eating pie again. Like I'm like I'm eating a whole pie by myself at like 8 o'clock.
I wish I liked pie.
I love pie. I love making pie. I love eating pie. That's my job. Every holidays I make the desserts.
I feel like my family is very boring. None of the desserts are like handmade. So it's like they went to the grocery store and bought a pie. Maybe that's why I don't like pie, because I've never had like a homemade pie.
I will send you my pumpkin pie recipe.
I thought you were gonna say I will send you a pumpkin pie, and I'm like, yes, please.
I'll send you a pumpkin pie.
It'll take a week to get there, and also maybe bad.
It's fine. I'll just send it to you. It'll be fine. I make this dairy-free, gluten-free pumpkin pie, and it tastes like a regular pumpkin pie. It's amazing.
So, all right.
And it's like creamier than a regular pumpkin pie because I use coconut instead of like milk. Like I substitute.
No, we don't do coconut.
You can't taste coconut. You can't taste the coconut, Katie.
Coconut, I swear to God, I can taste if coconut is in anything.
You can't
coconut, I swear.
Coconut, and she still eats it.
I honestly think that I'm not gonna like say I'm allergic to coconut, but I do think that I have like an intolerance to coconut, because the moment I smell coconut, my entire like senses go they like contract.
You're my sister with bananas.
Oh, I love bananas.
My sister literally cannot be near bananas or she will like hyperventilate. She hates them so much. And so is my grandma, and I don't understand. I'm like, bananas are like the best ever.
What sucks is like, okay, that sucks. Absolutely. Bananas are delicious, but you can avoid bananas. You can't, it's harder to avoid coconut because they put coconut oil in like everything, and all of like the sunscreens in the summer are scented coconut, and I'm like, gross. I don't like the taste, the flavor, which is the same thing, the texture, the smell, anything about coconut.
I love coconut. I eat coconut like raw, like
the chunks of it.
Yeah, I'll go to Whole Foods and like buy coconut. It's my favorite snack on the planet. And it keeps you hydrated. Like I don't feel like lugging around water with me. I'll lug around coconut because I'm that person. I'm like the worst person on the planet. All I eat in the summer are like fruits. Like that's the only thing I eat in the summer. Fruit and coconut. Nothing else.
Is coconut a fruit?
No, it's a nut.
But is it a nut?
Yes.
Well, you know how peanuts aren't really nuts. Like peanuts aren't nuts.
Well, yeah, but like coconuts are like a tree nut. They like grow on trees. They're a tree nut. Like they're classified as a tree nut because like some people have allergies to them. Like people who are allergic to like tree nuts. Like I had a teacher who was allergic to tree nuts. And there's one day I had like coconut in class, and she was like, "Can't be in here with that." I was like, "What?" And she's like, "I'm allergic." And I was like, I thought it was basically just water. I was like, I didn't know you could be allergic to coconut. But yeah, apparently you can.
One time when I was working at In-N-Out, if anybody has an allergy, like you have to like mark allergy on the like in the as you're taking the order. Yeah. And there wasn't an allergy button for this. So I walked over to like the person who was on board, and I was like, "Hey, this person says that they have a allergy to lettuce." And the person looked at me and goes, "Lettuce is water." And I was like, "Look, I'm just telling you."
I don't think that you can be allergic to lettuce, can you?
I don't know. Also, same with onion. Although I feel like you could probably be allergic to onion, but
A lot of people have bad reactions to onion. Like my dad can't eat onion. My roommate can't eat onion unless it's like cooked. Like there's like certain like intolerances, I guess you could say, like onion that people have.
yeah. I remember them just going, what, lettuce is water. And I was like, I'm just relaying the info. Because you know, people will say they're allergic to something if they just don't like it.
Yeah, which I think is stupid. Like that's so, just say you don't like it and then like move on.
Yeah,
Like
because you
why
can
do you
like
have to
pick
lie
lettuce
about it?
off.
Yeah, like why do you have to lie about it?
You
Meanwhile,
don't
I'm a
need to.
person, I have an allergy and I still eat it anyways because I hate myself. But I will say this though, I have a dairy allergy, but I don't eat dairy out if I can help it. Like I'll eat dairy, but only in like the safety of my own home when I can go vomit for like 6 hours afterwards. Or
Ew.
spend like 2 days with like horrible like breakouts and be fine.
That's maybe that's what's wrong with my skin.
Stop eating dairy. Dairy like ruins your skin.
I feel like I don't eat dairy a lot though.
My sister
I say after I just ate pizza and just had pizza and I had a little bit of brie earlier.
My sister has like the worst acne on the planet. We had no idea where she got it from because like my parents have great skin. And like I was very grateful to have inherited great skin from my parents. Like I don't ever break out. Like I break out like twice a month and that's it. And she had like horrible acne. We were trying to figure out what it was. And then we were like, she drinks milk for every like meal that she drinks like milk like 6 times a day. And I'm like, that's so unhealthy. Like that is absurdly unhealthy. And I was like, you can buy like non-dairy milk that tastes like regular milk. I do it all the time for like cereal. Like it's not that hard.
Yeah. But I should really get like tested on this. Anyway, back to Gossip Girl.
It's life-changing. Like going to a nutritionist is like life-changing. It's nuts. Anyway, my other like my next notes are like based on like the flashbacks because I love the flashbacks. And so I had like, yes, flashback Blair and Serena, like they look so cute. I love them. I love their straight hair. I'm obsessed with it. And then my next one is classic cabbie language. I have never in my life experienced this.
What?
Like I've been to New York a few times. I have never once experienced like aggressive cab drivers ever.
No.
Like I've never once heard them like roll down their window to yell at someone.
No.
I've never seen that in my life. I've seen drivers do it, but not like cab drivers.
No. I was just yelled at when I was on my walk by a person. It was just like,
I had an Uber driver do it once. I had like an Uber driver while I was in the car, like roll his window down to yell at somebody. I thought that was funny. Like, I was like,
the last time I was in a cab, I was leaving some like bagel shop with my friend, and I was on my way to like wherever the new group theater is, and I was in my head, I was turned around, like completely 180 turned around. So he started driving one direction, and I was like, I think you're going the wrong way. And he goes, no. And I was like, trying to like match up Google Maps on my phone, being like, which way is it, north and south? Because I usually have like a really good internal compass.
Yeah.
But I was so turned around.
That's so funny. The last time I was in a cab like in New York was I don't know, I usually take the subway like if I can because I'm broke. But like whenever my mom goes to New York with me, my mom does not ride the subway. She hates it. She thinks it's the worst thing on the planet. And there's one time I know the subway pretty well, considering I don't live there and I've only been a few times. I know the subway pretty freaking well. And we were trying to go, I can't even remember where. I was like, explaining to my mom, I was like, we literally just get on the 4 train. And she was like, no. And I was like, we literally get on the 4 train. It's like 6 stops away. Like, I was like, I know this for a fact. And she was like, no, I don't think so. And then she was like turning to my dad like he would know. It was his first time in New York. And I was like, he doesn't know what you're talking about. Like, I was like, it's the 4 train, 6 stops away. Get on this damn train. Like, I was like, I am not stupid. Get on the train. And then she's like, no, I think it's this other. And I was like, no, listen to me. And then like my dad was like, no, we're gonna get on the 4 train and we're gonna go because I'm gonna trust the person who's been here before. And not a woman who's never been to New York in her life. And so we get on the 4 train, it's like 6 stops away. My mom was like, huh. I was like, crazy.
Oh
Wild
my
if I was
gosh.
right. Like how fucking nuts.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was insane.
I can't wait for the days where I live in New York and my parents come out to visit me. And I am just like, oh, I can't. Like, that's the shit I fantasize about.
Mood.
I'm just like, oh, and
Mood.
then we can live
I
like a
can't wait
little.
because when that happens, I won't have to take the subway ever because my parents will pay for a cab.
I don't mind the subway.
Oh, I don't either.
I don't
but,
mind
like,
the subway.
I don't either, but I would prefer to like not go on it.
There was this podcast I listened to. It's called High and Mighty by John Gabris, and he had one episode that they were literally only talking about like New York public transit, and I was like here for it. There's
I feel like
his
you could
guest.
have like 6 episodes of a podcast about like the transit.
This because Gabris, he grew up on Long Island, and this guest that he had on was like from, I don't know, he grew up in New York City also. Not that Long Island is New York. Anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how like from a young age he was obsessed with like transportation. So he, on like weekends,
most, like, young boys are. I'm gonna say that right now.
He said that
so funny.
for on weekends, his parents would just be like, all right, let's go from one end of Manhattan to the other, just like getting on and off subways. And I'm like, that's actually a real fun thing to do.
So
I think.
Are you kidding me? Like most kids I
like
know
a little
just,
6-year-old
to be able to do that. Like that's freaking funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Also, speaking of Long Island, this is a funny thing. I've had so many guys on Hinge the last year of my life from Long Island. Like so many like Long Island guys like my profile. I cannot figure out why. I don't understand it. And every time I match with one because I'm like, oh well, he's like pretty cute. Like his profile's not the worst. So like sure, I'll match with him. Just like what have I got to lose? Literally nothing. And all the times I do, I am always correct in my statement. If you're from Long Island, I'm sorry, but y'all suck. I hate I hate people from Long Island. I hate them. Because like every single time they're like the snobbiest, most elitist people I've ever met in my life, and they act like they are like high and mighty because they're like, I'm from New York City. No, you're not, you're from Long Island. Sorry. But it's the same thing, but it's also different.
There's a difference.
There's a huge difference. And like there's this one guy who like we were just talking about the city and I was like, oh, there's this like I was like, you know, next time you're like back home or whatever, I was like, you should go to this restaurant, like it's super good. And he was like, oh, I've never heard of it before. And I was like, yeah. And then like he like made like some snarky comment about how I think I know everything about New York. I was like, no, I was offering up a place to go eat. Like I was like, this isn't me trying to be like, look at me, I know everything about New York. I don't know everything about New York. I'm just saying this is a really good place to eat. And I was like, if you haven't been there, go try it. And he was like,
oh my God.
Yeah. And I was like, you clearly didn't even know what I was talking about.
I definitely have family on Long Island, like my dad's cousins, because my dad's parents are from New York, and then they're both from Brooklyn, and it's real cute because they were the only they were the only children in their own families born in Brooklyn. All of their siblings were born in so my grandfather's side, all of his siblings and his parents and everything, they were all born in Scotland. And then on my grandmother's side, all of her siblings and her parents were all born in Puerto Rico. So it's like they were the only two born. They got married. They had a kid in Brooklyn. And they moved down to Virginia. Had their other 3 kids, including my dad. And their other 3 kids, including my dad. Then they moved. Then they spent a little time in North Carolina, and then popped over into moved cross country all the way to Los Angeles.
Typical.
But yeah, so I definitely still have family in New York, at least on my dad's side. I have no fucking clue about my like his his mom's family. They're all like scattered.
As far as I know,
Um,
no one in my family lives in New York. I have family that like live in expensive parts of Colorado because they're living, but and I love
um,
them. But
I didn't realize how long Long Island was.
mhm,
Like, I didn't realize how big Long
yeah,
Island was until very recently.
yeah.
So there's this book that I'm
I've been
reading.
to Long Island for 0.5 seconds.
I haven't, not at all.
I've like barely been in Long Island. I will never go back. I hate it.
There's a book that I was reading. Um, oh, there's a third Cuomo person, third aide.
Not surprised.
Not surprised.
Disappointed, but not
Um,
surprised.
mhm. But there's a book that I'm reading, or read. I literally go. It's one of my. I'll go back to it all the time.
Mhm.
But it's set in Port Jefferson, and I had just like. Usually when I'm reading books, I just assume everywhere's fake. Like I don't assume these are real places. They're like, oh, it's on Long Island. It's on Long Island. I'm like, cool, sure, it doesn't exist. But then I was watching an
Long
Aquafina.
Island isn't real.
But then, well, it's not that I didn't think Long Island was real. Obviously,
You
I
think
knew it
Long
was.
Island is real?
It was the little cities. It was like the little cities. I'm like, oh, it's just like a made up city that they said is
Yeah.
there. But then I was watching Aquafina's episode of Hot Ones, and she
Yeah.
mentioned the city as well, and I was like, oh, that's a real place. So when I googled it, it's like 60 miles away
Yeah.
from Manhattan,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's further away from Manhattan than I live from Los Angeles.
Yeah. Like
I'm
it's
like,
crazy.
I didn't realize how long Long Island actually is.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we started talking about Long Island in this
I know, but
episode
like
about Gilmore
I'm gonna
Girls
say this
and
though.
Gossip Girl. Jesus.
Bringing it back to Gossip Girl, I will say this. I feel about Long Island and Staten Island as Blair does about Brooklyn. I also feel that way about Brooklyn, but like that's a whole other topic of discussion that I know I'm gonna get shit on for because I despise Brooklyn, but that's a whole other thing.
Like Brooklyn.
I don't like Brooklyn.
I was able to find like old census records,
Mhm.
and I found like my grandfather's like census records from he was like a little boy.
Mhm.
And so it must have been like the 1930 or 1940 census. And I found the apartment building that he grew up in Brooklyn, and it's still standing. And it must have been 1930 census because 1940s they were already in the war, so he was in World War II. So I found it, and then like 5 years ago, my friend and I were in New York, and I was like, "Hey, can we go like see this?" And I found it, and I was just standing outside and go, "Never met the man who lived here, but this is real cool."
It's like my thing with Brooklyn is people that live in Brooklyn think that they're better than people that live in Manhattan, and they're hypocrites because they're like Manhattan people are elitist and they think they're better than us, but I'm like, but you think you're better than them, so what does that make you? Like,
But
like
that's only certain Brooklyn. That's only like gentrifying Brooklyn people.
well, but that's the thing, that's the other thing is I'm like everyone act like people from Brooklyn act like it's not as gentrified as it is. Like it's
Yeah.
like it's absurd to me. Like it drives me. My sister, who lived in Brooklyn for 11 months, thinks that she knows everything. She lived there for like 3 years ago. Like this was ages ago in terms of like gentrification and like New York and everything. And so she lived there 3 years ago for 11 months. She didn't even make it a full year because she's an idiot. And she like I don't mean to bully my sister on this podcast, but like she's the worst. And I've said all this to her face. So like this is like anything like bullying. This is all just facts. But like she acts like she was texting me. I was like, yeah, I'm like looking at places. Like I'm just like getting an idea of like pricing wise where I would want to end up to start out. And so I was like, yeah, I'm looking in like Hell's Kitchen, Upper West Side, Midtown, because it's cheap right now. So I was like, I'm looking and like hoping that, you know, maybe it'll equate because I think it'll stay this way for a good amount of time. And just because of everything. And she was like, why not Brooklyn? I was like, because it's expensive. Like I was like, I'm not living it. It's expensive. It's an hour train ride into Manhattan. That's ridiculous. I'm like, I'm not. I was like, Queens is like the only other borough I could like imagine myself in. And I was like, and I'm also looking in Queens because I think Astoria is a really great place, and I love staying in Astoria whenever I'm in New York. And she was like, well, Brooklyn's really great. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, I'm like, it's fine if like that's where you want to end up. But I'm like, but that is not my vibe. That's not the type of like area that I see myself living in. That's not the type of like aesthetic and style that I am at all. Like I'm very much a Manhattan person.
And you also have to think about like, I mean, I don't know what she did for work while she was there,
She
but
worked
like,
like 3 retail jobs.
okay.
Yeah.
So like what you and I do or want to do, what I currently do,
Yeah.
everything is in Manhattan.
Everything.
Unless I were to work for like BAM.
Yeah.
But everything is in Manhattan.
And it's not
And
even just that. It's I don't want to have to like after a late night event for work or something. I don't want to have to be on the subway at 1 a.m. by myself. You know, like there's like a lot of
yeah, no,
things.
exactly.
Like I don't
exactly.
Like
And like currently my commute is an hour.
Yeah.
When I go into the office. Before my commute was like an hour 15. And I am so done with that. I'm so over it.
Yeah.
And and like so that's something that I keep in mind when I think about moving to New York. Is like I probably won't move to an outer borough.
Yeah.
Because I don't want an insanely long commute.
Queens, I would say like Queens is fine because Queens is a 30-minute subway ride into Midtown. It's not bad at all. So like I could see myself, or from Astoria at least, like I could see myself living in Astoria because it's quiet. The park is nice. Like I love Astoria. I think it's beautiful. So and it has a great view of Manhattan. So like I love Astoria. I think it's super nice. Anyways, we need to talk more about Gossip Girl because we've been talking for like 40 minutes.
It's fine. Gossip Girl. So they bring up Roman.
Yes.
And Eleanor says, "Not this one, Harold. We have to work together." What does that mean?
So I'm assuming because like clearly Eleanor's like aware that Harold is like
okay, so this is her knowing. So she's known.
So this is her saying
Harold is
hit
gay.
on this one. Don't touch this one because like we're trying to move together.
We have to work together
as parents for Blair. Like they're like because Blair's going through all this stuff with like her eating disorder and you know like all this stuff. So like she's saying we need to work together, we need to stick together. Which of course we know Roman is the man that he ends up leaving Eleanor for. But I love Roman. We don't meet him yet, but like whenever we do meet, I love Roman. I think he's the cutest little French man ever. I love him. He's the best, and he's in. For anyone who is aware of this, he's in like a bunch of other television shows, and he shows up in Emily in Paris. And it like
is he actually French?
Yeah, it took me off guard because like I was watching Emily in Paris, and I was like, oh my god, that's Roman. I think I Snapchatted you. I was like, that's literally Roman from Gossip Girl. This was like ages
I watched Emily in Paris once and I retained nothing.
Yeah, no, like I watched it once. I know 3 things that happened total because like it's fun to watch, but if you're like a PR social media person, it's the worst show ever made. Like
it's a bad show. It's not a good show. It's entertaining.
But did it not paint like what I want to do with my life as like some ditzy career?
Yeah, absolutely did.
It made it seem like it's like some easy job that anybody can do. And she doesn't even do it well. Like that's like the worst part of it. Is like all this stuff that she does. I'm like, this is not like this is the worst idea. This is the worst social media I've ever seen in my entire life. Like everything about it drives me nuts. But it's fun to watch because I love like shows set in Paris and France and stuff. I think that they're always beautiful. Like they're always really nice to look at. And I love French people. I think they're fun. So
okay. So
in that same scene, I have like Dorota rolling her eyes at Eleanor because Eleanor is literally like shouting like she can't understand and Dorota's just like rolling her eyes and it made me laugh.
So then so Serena and Blair are talking. Yeah. And Serena has just like the last time we saw Serena, she had walked in on Blair and Chuck making out.
Yeah.
And so she asks about Nate, right? And then she's just like, no, something. I don't even remember what happened, what she said about Nate. But then she goes, she asked about Chuck. What's Chuck doing? And she's like, why are you asking me? But
Yeah.
we never find out what Chuck is doing.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
he's just
that's
absent.
Sometimes I just always assume that like Nate mentioned something. Like I'm just always assuming that like Nate says something. But I don't think he does because all the other shit that's happening with him in this episode. But yeah, they like that whole conversation was very awkward. It was very, very awkward.
Why does Blair disinvite Serena to dinner? What did she do?
I don't know exactly. I think it's just like the constant like nagging. Like I think it was just like Blair was just fed up with it and she didn't want to talk about it. I think that's essentially what it was.
So then Eleanor has all these caterers to the.
Wait. No, I just realized what it is. Because Serena asks Blair if she and Chuck are sleeping together. And Blair's like, why are you jealous? Or are you just mad that you didn't get to know me first? And that was like, yeah. And that line,
it's always worse about a best friend or something.
That line was so good. Like I was in my room and like listening to it. And I was like doing my hair and I was like, Blair just like went for like the lowest blow possible and I'm here for it. Like that was like the best line in the episode.
Like
I loved it.
Annihilated her.
And it's like, and then Serena's like, okay, wow, like what the fuck? And then Blair's like, just done. And I don't blame, like that's the thing though, is like I don't blame her. She shouldn't have to like say anything if she doesn't want to. Like if she's not ready to talk about it, if she doesn't want to talk about it, she shouldn't have to.
No, but like if
it's humiliating for her. She doesn't want to be.
But why?
Like,
you know what? Okay, fine.
I'm just
saying. I feel like you and I could like argue about this. Because I feel like, okay, well, because I think that Serena is just like, hey, are you like she's trying to be a good friend. She's being like, hey, are you okay? Like, you can talk to me about this. But then Blair is taking it like too far because she's embarrassed by her own actions, which she shouldn't be embarrassed by it just because it's not going according to her plan. She doesn't have to be embarrassed by sleeping with Chuck.
But look at her mother. Her mother is like the most like, your life has to go this way. And she just got out of like the whole thing with Nate, which isn't even officially over. It's just kind of done. And then all this stuff is going on with Nate, and Blair's like unaware of pretty much everything because she and Nate aren't talking, and that's weird for her because like Nate usually tells her everything. And she usually tells Nate everything. And then Serena's like in this happy relationship, like she's in like this little bubble. And like Blair, I think this happens throughout the course of the show. Anytime Serena's happy, she'll like act like she's gonna be there for Blair, and then she's not. And I think that Blair is sensing that could end up happening because she's like, well, you're happy with Dan, go be happy with Dan. Who gives a shit? And she's like, let me go live. Like, and the other thing is it's like, I agree, like Serena is just trying to like be a good friend. She is just trying to like be there for her. But like Blair's been burned by Serena doing that in the past. And so I think she's trying to just like guard herself from judgment because Serena is very judgmental despite all the shit that Serena's pulled. Like, and she doesn't, and it's like Blair doesn't want to be judged for something like this. Like, she doesn't want to be judged because she's already judging herself. And she doesn't need her best friend doing it too.
Okay. Also, it's a rough day for her. I don't think we've found out yet. Yeah, she hasn't found out that her dad isn't here yet, but like it's a touchy day. And then you look, they keep showing flashbacks to like her having like this eating disorder. So it's going to be like a tough day around food for her.
Yeah. Which I mean, and she's recovered at this point, so like she's more okay with it. But then like later on in the episode when all that shit starts to go down, that's when like she starts to like spiral and like all that. So
yeah. But so Eleanor's having the Thanksgiving catered, but who's coming to the Waldorf Thanksgiving?
It's business people.
You would think business people would want to be with their own families.
No.
They should be with their own families.
Well, they should be, but they're not. I mean, think about it in the flashback though, because later on in the flashback, in the episode when the flashback happens, you find out like the captain is like trying to leave Thanksgiving early, and Anne's like, no, and he's like, well, and Nate's like, it's Thanksgiving, and the captain's like, not in Amsterdam, and she's like, okay, well, we're in America, so come down, we're celebrating Thanksgiving. And
so, but from that conversation, we learned that Nate's dad, the captain, has been given a job from Nate's mom's dad. So, and because then later in the episode, you hear Anne go, he is just supposed to sit behind a desk and attend meetings, and that's it. And he couldn't even do that.
It's like, that's the thing, is it's so funny to me. Like, their relationship is so funny because, and I've thought about this a lot. Like, this is something I think about every time I rewatch this. And it's like, hold on. Oh my God, my microphone has been like really low this whole time.
Oh, you just got real loud for me.
That's so embarrassing. Anyways, it's fine. But their relationship is always so funny to me to like watch, because like he married into money and he doesn't like that. Like, it's very like it makes him very insecure. It's a very touchy subject for him. Like, money is a very touchy subject for him. And I think it's funny because, I mean, we find out later on, like, genuinely how shitty her dad is. So it's like, I understand that he's like stressed. I understand, like, you know, his issues with it. But at the same time, like, if you want to be a man, just deal with it. Like, it's like, you don't have to be like the breadwinner in the family just because you're the man. Like, it's okay that she's the like income. That's okay. Like, it's all right.
But even then, her income is. I'll keep going.
I understand, but it's also like, I understand, like, you know, it was 2007. It was like, and this is still something that happens. So like, I understand, but it's just like, I don't know, their whole relationship. My favorite part of that conversation, though, that they had in the flashback was, he was like, well, if I don't get this, then I don't get the commission. And she's like, screw the commission, I'll cut you a check, come sit down. I loved that. Like, I was like, she is such a bad bitch. And I love Anne. Like, she's honestly one of my favorite like minor characters in Gossip Girl, because I just think that she's so like I love her attitude. Like, she's just so I love her. She's very much like Grace Kelly. That's how I see her.
Well, she's grown up in this. She understands.
Right, like, she's a Vanderbilt. Like, she
understands the way New York society works.
Yeah,
exactly. So from the, because then we are thrust into modern day 2007. Yeah. Thanksgiving at the Archibald house, and it's just the three of them sitting there, and just goes, I was asked to step down from the Snowflake Ball Committee and not asked to return to the Lincoln Center Foundation. Like, okay.
And then, like, literally,
those are just places. Those are literally committees. That's you spending money there.
But like, my other favorite thing is like, whenever she's like, maybe I should have asked the bail bondsman if he was.
Like, he was free for Thanksgiving.
He was just like constantly like going at him, and then Nate like is trying to like defend his dad. I mean, like, there's no one more angry about the situation than I am, but like, relax, like, what can we do now? And then his dad goes, I wrote this down, his dad said, I don't need you to fight this fight for me. And I was like, aren't you the one that was just pinning everything against him because you were a coward? Like what?
Archibalds need to figure out what's going on.
Like, and it's my favorite. I love the Archibalds. Like, the Archibalds are one of my favorite families, just because, I don't know, they're so much more like removed from like all the major drama, and I like all their drama is mostly like internal, and I'm much more interested in that. Like, I'm much more interested in like the captain's trial and like all of that stuff than I am a lot of the other stuff that happens in the show.
Yeah. How come nobody on the show talks to their parents? Like, why didn't Serena ever tell Lily that Allison was back?
Because she didn't.
Not once.
Why would
she knew
that?
Because she knew.
But why would she have told Lily? She doesn't know about Lily and Rufus's relationship.
Well, no, but she'd be like, oh, you know, Dan, his mom's back in town. Any conversation.
That would not have come up naturally in a conversation.
Okay, then how about this? Why didn't Dan ever tell Serena or tell Allison Serena's name?
I think he said Serena, but I don't know if he said Vanderwoodson. Or maybe anytime he said Serena and almost said her last name, Rufus was like, yeah, she's great. Like, it could have also very much have been Rufus, but like, yeah, Serena, that's her name.
It would have been like, or when, no, because it would have been, this is how simple the conversation could have gone. So when Dan invites Serena over to the Humphrey house for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
Serena could have been like, oh yeah, and actually his mom's back in town, so it's great, you get to meet his mom and his dad.
No, I don't
His
think that would have been
parents.
natural.
It would have been a set, like, okay, come on,
But
you can
also
meet his
Serena,
parents.
like Serena knows that his mom is back, but like she doesn't know his mom. So I don't think that that would have like I wouldn't have thought about that. Like that wouldn't have been in my mind if I were her. And also,
Then okay, and they didn't even bring it up on the entire hour-plus journey from the Upper West Side to Brooklyn. Not once did they mention who was going to be at this dinner.
because why would it matter? Like, I don't see why that's like, why are you so pressed?
I will go to Thanksgiving at my aunt's house and be like, who's going to be there?
Well, but that's the thing.
And these are family members.
Right, but like Dan, I don't think that it's crossing his mind. Like, I genuinely don't think that he's thinking of, because I mean, obviously Lily knows Rufus, so like why would they start a conversation about who's going to be there? Because Serena already said at Dan's house with his family. So like in Lily's mind,
but Allison,
Rufus and Jenny.
Allison didn't come up once on the entire car ride from.
Well, because think about it though, for Dan, this is still a touchy subject that his mom is back. Why would he introduce this conversation with Eric and Lily in the car? Like I wouldn't have. I would have. That's a private conversation that I would have with Serena.
I just think that like it totally could have come up,
but also
and probably would have come up. But in it's also any
in
world.
My mind. When I was their age, and even still now, I don't tell my parents a lot of things. I don't talk to them enough about stuff. Like I'm very much like a guarded person in that sense. Like I don't really talk to my parents about stuff like that. And like if it comes, like if they ask who I'm going to meet, I'm like, oh, my friends. And they just, because they think that, oh, like I know all of your friends, so they just know who I'm talking about, or think that they know who I'm talking about. But like I never like outright say like, oh, I'm hanging out with Emily, Emma, Mary Beth. Like I never give like explicit names.
I just think it would have been really easily avoided if Dan could have just said, oh, my girlfriend Serena, so tell me about her. Well, da 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 da. And then she could have like
talking to his mom as is. You know what I mean? Because he's still low-key pissed at her. I don't know. That's just like I'm genuinely thinking about how they are and like their situations. I don't think it would have come up organically at all. But like Lily did try to get out of it. Let's say that though. Lily did try to get out of it because she was like,
which because she didn't want to see Rufus.
Because she didn't want
not because she
know about their relationship.
But they could have kept that quiet.
Well, right. But at the same time, I think it's funny because like she could have very easily been like, oh, you know, I won't be alone. Like she could have made up such a fat lie in that moment when like the guy brought in food. She could have been like, oh, a friend's coming over, or like something, like, you know what I mean?
But she had already lied and said that she was sick. So why would she invite a friend over?
I would if I was. Well, she wasn't sick. She said she was feeling sick. There's a difference.
Semantics.
There's a difference. It's just like, God. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. But can we discuss like the Humphreys and Allison for a second? Because like she made me so mad this entire episode. I don't like Allison. I've said that many times. I don't like Allison. I cannot stand her. I think she's one of the worst characters. I don't like the Humphreys in general, but Allison is like my absolute, like out of all of them, I think Allison is the worst. Out of like not being a main character. She like what made me the most angry, I think, is like, she's so childish. Like, she's genuinely acting like a teenager about all of this. And Lily's trying to be civil. Lily's trying to like be like, I didn't know you were here. I'm so sorry. Like, this is kind of a crazy situation that we're in. And Allison's like, you should have known. Why? Like what? And also, why is no one mad at Rufus? Like the women mad at each other. Why is nobody mad at Rufus? Like
Rufus didn't do anything. Nobody in this situation did anything wrong, really.
No.
No one is just happy with anybody's decisions.
But here's another thing that like drove me up a wall was when they were talking about Rufus's song Rosewood, which was introduced very awkwardly. I'm going to say that right now. The dialogue was very awkward because like they're talking about how Lily had like, she was in a ranch wherever.
In Montecito.
Yeah. And she was like, and Jenny was like, oh, did you have horses? And she's like, yeah, I had a few. And she's like, I had my own that was named Rosewood. And they were like,
what a weird name for a horse.
I know. And they were like, oh, my dad has a song called Rosewood. And they were like, yeah, it's about my mom because she always had like, her perfume is like rose and sandalwood or whatever. And then Allison goes, I'm a fool. What? Why would Rufus have a song titled after Lily's horse? Your perfume makes more sense than a goddamn horse. What are you talking about? Like, and then Rufus is like,
also,
you're not a fool. Like, that's the
most and also Lily literally goes, I never told him about the horse.
Yeah, like,
it'd be different if she had a horse named, or if it'd be different if he had a song named Montecito.
Right, but he didn't. And like, Allison just automatically assumes that everything Rufus does is about Lily. And maybe so, because yeah, like she says, Lily was Rufus's first great love. And that's something that like you can't touch. That's something that you'll never reach, like you'll never get to the point of. And that's fine. Like you've accepted that. That's fine. But it gets to a point when you are a literal child at like 37 years old. Like this is ridiculous. Like the way she talks about things, she's still hung up on shit that clearly isn't as relevant as it was then. And then like the way that she talks to Dan about it is, it's like, there are some things that your kids don't need to know every detail of. Like, I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous to me. Like that, their relationships always, I feel like, cross some sort of weird boundary where they're not even parents anymore. Like they're just friends. And that's weird to me.
Yeah.
And like not entirely healthy. Like you need boundaries with your kids.
Before the whole Rosewood conversation, Serena just up and left because Blair called her because she was like, hey, I'm about to like spiral and do something like harmful to myself. I need you here now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So Serena leaves because she's a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
And goes to help Blair. So then this whole conversation happens. Everyone's like, what the hell is happening? And then everyone's like realizes that Lily and Rufus were a thing before Allison and Rufus, but everybody knows it except Serena now. Like nobody does. Nobody tells Serena.
And the other thing that I found funny, this was another thing that Allison did that was like super childish. Just like Serena was leaving and she like told her mom why she was leaving, and Allison was like, "Oh, is she okay?" And Lily's like, "Yeah, she'll be okay. Like it's all right. It's not even about her. Like she's fine." And Allison goes, "Oh, do you need to leave too?" Like, what? Like that was so rude. Like that was so incredibly rude. I don't care what this has done to you. That was uncalled for. Like it was absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah. But then it's immediately into another flashback, and it's like them helping drunk Serena into the bath. And Nate goes, "You smell like an ashtray." And she goes,
You look like an
ashtray. I laughed so hard.
I love the flashback scenes with Nate, Blair, and Serena because I think they are the cutest scenes ever. Like those are like, you can tell that they are people who have been friends their entire life. Like it is so evident because it's like every time I watch it, I'm like, oh my god, this is shit me and my friends would do. Like this is shit that me and my best friends would do. Because like I have two of my best friends I've known since I was like little. And so it's like you can like see that these are people that have like known each other their entire life and have like been close their whole life. And I just like, I love those scenes. I think they're so cute. And I also put why do people want Chuck so badly when Nate is like right there? Like,
What?
like Nate in this episode is like showing me, like, genuinely is just proving my point of how he is the best character.
No, but what are you talking about, Chuck?
I said, why do people like Chuck so much? Like, why do people want their own Chuck when like Nate's right there?
Oh, okay.
Like in general, not like this episode, but like everyone's always like, I want my own Chuck Bass. Why? He's a terrible person. I want Nate Archibald. Like, like look at him in this episode. He's like the perfect human being. Are you kidding me? I love him. I hate saying that about a white man, but like it's true. I love it.
Oh my God.
Next
note I have.
I was on Redbubble this week ordering stickers for my laptop to like replace them. And I was like looking for like Chase Crawford stickers, and there was one of his mugshot.
He's a mugshot?
Yeah, he got, it was for like weed possession in like 2009 or 2008, or it was ages ago. And
something stupid like
like it was ridiculous. But the mugshot's like my favorite thing. I almost bought the sticker. Like I came so close to it, but I didn't do it. I might do it at some point though, because it's iconic. But
gossip guy Chase Crawford busted for pot. June 4th, 2010. He looks so uncomfy.
He's like life imitating.
What a dope. XOXO goth. This literally just says, sorry, I need to read this article.
Please do
it. Gossip guy Chase Crawford busted for pot. Actor bonded out of police custody this morning after getting busted for a misdemeanor when cops found him in possession of less than 2 ounces of marijuana. And then his mugshot, in which he's just like, what the fuck? Come on, guys. Okay. And it just goes, what a dope. XOXO. And it says, Gossip Girl hunk Chase Crawford was arrested in his hometown of Plano, Texas, early this morning after cops allegedly found him in possession of marijuana. Literally, it's so dumb.
Like less than 2
Just legalize.
Really?
Legalize weed.
Ridiculous.
Across the country.
Facts.
It's legal here, and I'm like, I don't partake, but I'm just like, yeah, it's legal.
Like, thank God.
And
if you want to partake, you can legally.
Yeah, I'm like, if I want to, I can, but
there's also
don't.
When they're in the hotel room and like Dan comes to like pick them up and everything, I was shocked because like he made a comment about how Lily was reading a Nicholas Sparks novel, but I'm shocked that he didn't make some snarky ass comment about how Nicholas Sparks isn't a real author anyways. Like I was shocked because you know that is something that Dan would do under literally any other circumstance.
Yeah, but he's still trying to get in the good graces of Lily.
Right, that's what I'm saying though, is it's so funny to me that like I was expecting it and then I was like, he's not going to do it because it's Lily and like it's so early on and everything. But like any other circumstance, he would have done it. Absolutely.
Yeah. But after this whole blow up, he and Allison go for a walk and they just start to like air their grievances with each other.
Yeah.
And then they walk in. I just have a note, and I don't remember what the point I was trying to make with it was Allison and Dan walk in on Rufus and Lily talking. And
like, who cares?
Exactly. Well, also, where are Jenny and Eric?
Yeah.
Just like disappeared.
Here's another like little nit.
It is March 6th. Why are there people with fireworks?
That would trigger an anxiety attack in me. I can't do fireworks. Another like little nitpicky thing that really bothers me about the Humphreys. This isn't like a bad thing. It's just something that like irritated me in my mind just because I'm like, why do they not just say potatoes or mashed potatoes? Why do they just say mashed?
I don't know. Maybe they have a bunch of different types of potatoes on the table. Maybe they have mashed. Maybe they have mashed. Maybe they have smashed. Maybe they have
hand me the mashed potatoes. Don't say hand me the mashed.
They have scalloped. Maybe they have au gratin. Maybe they have.
I don't care. It made me irrationally angry.
I literally didn't even register. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, just mashed potatoes.
It made me so like I knew what they were talking about, but at the same time I was like, just say it. Like Just say mashed potatoes.
Say the full word.
It's not that hard. Just say another word. Like,
That's 3 extra syllables. We can't expect them to waste 3 syllables.
Whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Then Nate walks in on the captain unresponsive.
It's
They
so-
rush him to the hospital.
I was like, Nate cannot catch a break. I was like, this poor kid. He cannot win.
Oh my God.
And it just gets worse. Like, it's just like a constant
But then Nate just starts blaming Anne for everything. He starts blaming his mom for his dad's issues.
I mean, if you were in his shoes, though, knowing what you know about his and his mom, like his mom and his dad's relationship and how it is, you know, like his dad is under a lot of pressure from her family because of his job and like, you know, all that stuff. I can see where he's coming from, but also it is, yeah, I don't. But it's also a thing about his dad twists things all the time. His dad is a very manipulative person.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but he doesn't realize that. It's like his dad, like, you know, like he's a teenage boy. His dad is like his hero.
Wait, hold on. What's his name again?
Who?
The dad. What's his name?
Howard.
Oh, I honestly have a note. I go, do Nate and Blair's dad have the same name? But Blair's dad's name is Harold.
Yeah.
Harold and Howard. I'm like, okay, no, they're not the same
That would
name.
be weird if they did. Ew.
I mean, what's your dad's name?
William /
Oh.
Bill. He goes by Bill, but it's William.
Oh, I was gonna be like, my dad's name, like, that's okay. That's a very common name. Same with my dad.
I mean,
my dad's name is David. Like, very common names.
That's true. It's so funny. I have 2 friends whose moms are both named Shannon. And it's always so funny because, like, I don't know, they're 2 very, very different people. Like, they're so opposite of each other, but they are also, like, 2 of my favorite people on the planet. It's so funny to me.
I have a friend who her parents both had the same last name. It's a very common name.
Right.
But, like, they're still together. They never got married. They're still together, 27 years later.
Right.
And it just works. It's like zero issues
when you
with
have
like
a kid,
signing.
you don't have to worry about like what last name they get.
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like, oh, did you have the mom's last name or the dad's last name? Both. Oh, but you're not. Nope. Same last name.
Same last name. It's so funny.
Very common.
Speaking of like last names and stuff, so my friend, her dad's name is Steve. His last name is Rogers. So she was at Comic-Con.
You're lying.
I'm dead serious. She was at Comic-Con with her mom and in like Louisville, I think, and they met Anthony Mackie. And her mom went up to this man and said, "I'm married to Captain America."
No, okay, because here's the thing. Is I have a person I worked with, he had a friend whose name was Connor Murphy and went to go see Dear Evan Hansen, and his tickets were under Connor Murphy.
You're joking.
Yeah, that's a person. I mean, I don't personally know them.
That's
but
a pretty common, like those are 2 pretty common names though. So like that kind of makes sense.
Evan Hansen, Connor Murphy. I'm sure there are millions of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the reason though, is it's like, they're just mundane people, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh my gosh.
My last note of this episode is I love the end of this episode so much. It is so wholesome.
Hold on. I have so many more notes.
Oh, we have to wrap it up, Katie. We're like
I know. Okay, here are the list. These are just I guess stray observations at this point. Yeah. When it's in a flashback and Serena is in Harold's shirt and he goes, "That shirt looks wonderful. It was made for you." And she goes, "Actually, it was made for you." Love that part. And then why would Dan, when everyone starts to like figure things out, why would Dan think any of them are related? He goes, "There's no chance we're related." Why would he think that? Why would he think they're related? They're not.
I don't know, but I'm going to be honest with you. I could see Jenny being Lily's daughter. Physically.
It's just because she's blonde.
But their eyes, I could see it.
Well, that's a casting thing.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying though. I'm just saying if I were Dan, that's where I would look, but that's just me.
Then I have Blair in the Loft is my favorite because she's just like, why do you have a garage door in your room?
Really me though.
And then
Like,
she goes, is that Cedric?
I love like Blair's constant like poking fun.
She's fascinated.
I love it so much.
She's poking fun, but she's also so confused and fascinated because also, why do you have a garage door in your
Literally.
room?
I feel like Blair is literally, I relate so hard to her in that because like I feel like if I were to walk in there, I'd be like, what is this place? Like this is not a real apartment. Like this is not, no.
Oh my god. And then when like Dan is explaining to Serena what's happening, he goes, she was a groupie and he was almost famous. And it was like, wow, sick burn on both parts.
Literally, I love how often he like attacks his dad for being like a one-hit wonder.
And then they escape out the fire escape, and then they go to a restaurant, and Lily just finds them.
Well, she probably like Serena may have texted her. That's what I think.
Finds them. But then she goes, fries, and keep them coming.
I love like that it's like a constant in the show, like Thanksgiving episodes. I love how they always end with like fries and a milkshake. I love that. Like that's one of my favorite parts of the show.
And then my last note is Dan isn't mad that Rufus didn't tell him about Lily.
I mean,
because he knows that Rufus knows Lily because they've met at like school fundraisers and stuff.
Right. So maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe it's one of those things where Dan would have been mad had he known the most recent events of like Rufus and Lily hanging out. But I think that since he thinks it's just in the past, it's okay. You know what I mean?
I still think that if he had known that, it makes everything else weirder.
That's true.
Because of the whole like, oh, Serena Vanderwoods and his whole like weird thing, be like, Dan got a date with Serena kind of deal. Hate it.
I hate it. Rufus just he wakes up every morning and decides I'm gonna be a creep, and it's fine. And I hate that.
Hate it.
Disgusting.
I hate it. It's gross.
Anyways,
that was my last note.
It's 9:38 p.m. We need to wrap it up. All right, so Katie, where can you find us on the social media?
On Instagram and TikTok, we are at The Ultimate Insiders. Check us out. It's a fun time.
What's your personal?
That's it. And if you want to find me, if you want to follow me personally, you can follow me on Instagram at Complete Katie and on TikTok at Katiefornia. It's a good time over there too.
And I am join at It's Jill Hayes on all social media platforms. Follow me. It's a fun time. So thanks. Bye.
Real convincing.
I'm so tired.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.